They are claiming they have wiretaps, ballistics, informant interviews, meaning hour-long interviews with multiple informants.
Apparently, Lil Baby might be caught up in a RICO case, bruh.
Other people's actions I could be held accountable for.
Right.
I ain't know all that at first. You know what I'm saying? I never would have went that route, but I ain't.
Lil Baby is on the run because he's horrified he might end up behind bars after a deadly shootout, 2 kids, and wiretaps exposing a full-blown gang war. The feds are now circling his name is all over court documents, and the Forbes versus OMF war just exploded into a federal manhunt. Ever since Young Thug's case started unraveling, people have been side-eyeing which Atlanta rapper was going to be next on the RICO chopping block. Spoiler alert, it might be Lil Baby. Lil Baby might have dropped hits like the bigger picture, but now he's smack in the middle of one that's darker, deeper, and far more dangerous. But to really understand how Lil Baby ended up on the feds' radar, we got to spin the block back a few years way before the ops started shooting up music video sets. Beef had been brewing heavy between 4PF, Lil Baby's crew, and a set called OMF, which the streets say is tied to the notorious Goodfellas gang. This wasn't just petty rap beef, this was deep-rooted gang tension laced with silence, betrayal, and years of blood on both sides. One of the first public sparks that was back in August 2021, when a known 4PF member, Marcus Big Mark Holland, was killed. That death didn't just hurt the streets, it burned a hole in the hearts of the people behind 4PF, and according to law enforcement, that loss set a vengeful tone that never really calmed down. Fast forward to May 2024, Lil Baby decides to shoot a music video in the heart of Verbena Street Northwest, a neighborhood known for being OMF turf. And let's just be real, this was enemy territory. Law enforcement believes Baby knew exactly where he was and what that move represented. The moment the cameras started rolling, bullets started flying, 3 people got hit.
The apartments that are here are literally right across the street from where this shooting happened. Neighbors here frustrated that this music video shoot ended the way that it did. One woman who was caught in the middle of the crossfire tells me she's lucky to be alive.
Between the bullets, it was nothing but bullets, pop, 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 pop.
At least 25 shots fired.
Even though Lil Baby walked away untouched, it changed everything, and that was just the start of a spiraling bloodbath. Within weeks, the streets were in full-blown retaliation mode. On June 29, 2024, OMF member Trevon Turner was in southwest Atlanta. That hit was carried out by 4PF in direct retaliation for the video shoot ambush. The police didn't hold back in naming 4F and tying the incident directly to Lil Baby's music shoot. In fact, Lil Baby himself was identified in documents as the leader of the gang, with feds alleging he was nearly hit in the original shooting. Then came the retaliation. To the retaliation, July 2nd, 2024, just 3 days after Turner's death, the streets exploded again, but this time the targets weren't rivals, they were kids. 13-year-olds Layman Freeman and J. Cody Davis were gunned down outside an apartment complex during a birthday celebration, and 11-year-old Dantavius Davis was also shot in the foot. These boys had nothing to do with the gang war, but they became the face of it. Police were livid, publicly blaming Lil Baby for triggering the chain of violence that led to the boys' deaths. The 7 suspects tied to the killings: Candy Sanders, Richard Hollis, Reginald Thomas, Diane Mobley, Marcus Crawford, Trayan Crawford, and Ali Caldwell were all rounded up. The police said the shooting was orchestrated from behind bars by Quant Midnight Sanders, Trevon's cousin, and an OMF gang leader currently locked up using a smuggled phone. He allegedly coordinated the hit from prison, but they weren't even after those kids. Their intended target was a man named John J. Shot-Smith, known to run with 4PF and reportedly close to Lil Baby himself. By now, the media storm was wild. Lil Baby's name was trending not for a track, but because every document, every press conference, and every leaked wiretap was painting him as the puppet master behind the madness. Things got worse when an informant told police that one of the suspects had said he really wanted Lil Baby, but would settle for someone in his crew. But let's talk about the wiretaps, because that's when things really hit the fan. During a court hearing for some of the Goodfellas suspects, audio was played that allegedly included someone referencing Lil Baby putting a bag on a rival's head.
What's up? Oh, man, like, come on, bro, you know what's finna go on. Like, how the hell you can, you know what I'm saying? Ain't even like that, man. Got tickets on a lot of these folks.
We just heard somebody say these folks got tickets on these people. We know what's going on. First of all, who was that said that tickets?
The unidentified male, but was being referred to as Unc.
And you see him, Mr. Sanders?
Correct.
And what, in your experience, do you know what tickets are?
A price on somebody's head.
What do you mean by what do you mean on somebody's head? What is that?
Like a bounty.
Okay. To have them arrested?
Harmed. Or
And who were they referring to in that portion of the call?
they were saying that they had heard that Dominique Jones had tickets on a lot of people's heads.
Dominique Jones had wanted to have people harmed.
Correct.
All right, moving on.
If true, it could directly link Baby to orchestrating gang violence, which is exactly what RICO laws are designed to prosecute. Now here's where it gets eerie. Let's rewind to the 2022 Quavius Wilson. Two men were charged: Nathan 4PF, Nate Benford, and Kione Davis. Nate was a known affiliate of Lil Baby's crew. Davis ended up identifying Nate as the shooter and telling the court the done on behalf of 4PF. That was the golden ticket for prosecutors. They now had testimony that confirmed 4PF wasn't just a rap label but a gang. But guess what happened next? March 28, 2025, just days after the Georgia Public Defender's RICO unit said they were preparing indictments for 4F and OMF. Kenny Davis, the star witness who testified against 4PF Nate, was shot dead. That man was on a 15-year probation deal after being tied up in a very messy, very real gang. And where did this all go down? Right off Lakewood Avenue, a place that's starting to look more like a crime scene map than a neighborhood. The Atlanta police said they responded to the call Friday night, found Davis with gunshot wounds, and rushed him to the hospital, and he didn't make it that same night. Literally a few blocks away, young Scooter reportedly died after running from police and injuring his leg. Yes, young Scooter, as in Future's longtime friend, Freeband's affiliate. A known name in ATL police said there's no official connection between the two incidents. But let's be real, two rappers or rap-affiliated men dying on the same night within a mile of each other. That's more than a coincidence. That's a signal. People are already speculating this wasn't just random. Some are saying it's retaliation. Others think it's part of a bigger cleanup operation before a massive RICO drops. The crazy part, Kenny was one of the last threads left from that 2022 situation. If the feds were trying to build a case, their witnesses are slowly disappearing. Literally, this tit-for-tat is exactly the pattern that made DA Funi Willis step in during the YSL chaos back in 2022. She launched that massive racketeering case on Young Thug's crew for the same kind of cycle rap meets street meets bloodshed, and now she's saying publicly there are two more major RICO indictments coming in Atlanta within 60 days. You don't need a decoder ring to figure out why Lil Baby's name is trending, but the smoke doesn't end in music. The feds are fully tapped into. The Department of Justice just dropped RICO charges on the Goodfellas gang a couple weeks ago. In that case, prosecutors literally tried to seal the files because they expected witnesses to get more leaked. Yeah, it's that deep. Meanwhile, Lil Baby is quiet, real quiet. And now Major Ralph Wolf from APD's Violent Crime Interdiction Section has put it bluntly.
Lamont Freeman was allowed to be a 13-year-old for 27 minutes before gang violence ultimately took his life. Gang violence was orchestrated by adults in our city.
He thinks there's only one person to blame.
And cowardly acts of an Atlanta-based rapper that decided to go over into a rival gang stronghold and shoot a music video in a place that he knew he should not have.
That Atlanta-based rapper is obviously none other than Lil Baby.
Subsequent days, we saw homicides and shootings, and ultimately the deaths of two children as a result of his cowardly actions, and you know who you are.
But that's not all. Wolf made it crystal clear that the police are not letting this go.
That this team will work relentlessly to hold you and the persons that you are affiliated with responsible for those actions.
By this point, legal analysts were calling it inevitable. George Chidi, a trusted Atlanta journalist, published a report saying Lil Baby would be indicted within 90 days. Even Sean Hoover, who heads the RICO unit at Georgia's Public Defender Council, confirmed it.
Sean Hoover, who manages the Georgia Public Defenders Council specialized unit on gang cases, says his office is actively preparing for a racketeering indictment on the 4PF and OMF cases, and that he expects Lil Baby to be indicted with others.
Lil Baby himself hasn't done much talking, no interviews, no statements, just a cryptic reply saying, "Only God can judge me," to a tweet that said, "Man, you better be watching out for that RICO everybody keep talking about," but that isn't exactly clearing his name. Then, he also posted a story, writing, "Thanks for all the concerns, please don't be misinformed by fake news, I'm overly good." He also dropped a new album right in the middle of all this, which had fans wondering if he was trying to divert attention. But when the feds want you, no amount of PR rollout is going to save you. What's especially wild is that Lil Baby tried to make all the right moves. He distanced himself from the streets. He invested in the community. He created black entrepreneur circles. Lil Baby himself hasn't done much talking, no interviews, no statements, just a cryptic reply saying, "Only God can judge me." 2. A tweet that said, "Man, you better be watching out for that RICO everybody keep talking about," but that isn't exactly clearing his name. Then, he also posted a story, writing, "Thanks for all the concerns, please don't be misinformed by fake news, I'm overly good." He also dropped a new album right in the middle of all this, which had fans wondering if he was trying to divert attention. But when the feds want you, no amount of PR rollout is going to save you. What's especially wild is that Lil Baby tried to make all the right moves. He distanced himself from the streets. He invested in the community. He created black entrepreneur circles. He did philanthropy in 2023. He shut down 4PF publicly and reintroduced his business as Glass Window Entertainment. Did philanthropy in 2023. He shut down 4PF publicly and reintroduced his business as Glass Window Entertainment.
Label is not a nothing, it's not a nothing. It's a way of life, you know what I'm saying? If you on your like, you can't with me. Girls say they can't be with everybody. It's just, that's just that way of life, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And of course, 4 Pockets Full had to come to an end, you know what I'm saying?
When you say of course, why you say of course?
Because all that be going on. And I had to start learning that, like, other people's actions, I could be held accountable for.
Right.
I ain't know all that at first, you know what I'm saying? I never would've went that route, but I ain't know, you know what I'm saying? Now that I know, I'd be a fool to just keep the same thing going, you know what I'm saying? They trying to make something out of something that it ain't. Like, if I got any kind of control of, hey, we gonna switch that whole thing up. It ain't even just about the police, it's just period, you know what I'm saying? Like, I never was supposed to make my label something that I talk about. Because who I am, and even like now, the young guys, when I meet them and new artists who gonna start their own label, I'm telling them, hey, start your label with something that don't got nothing to do with nothing or nobody but your artist.
On the surface, it looked like a clean break.
You know what I'm saying? So I just already know that was gonna be my way of life once I start saying 4 Pockets Full. And then they start saying it, then the world gonna be saying it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's our way of life, just like KB fuck with. Ain't no gang, ain't no none of that shit. It's just the way of life, you know what I'm saying? But it's crazy because I'm waiting on him to get out. I got some major for him, you know what I'm saying? As soon as he get out, he get killed.
Damn.
So then already, that's what my 4PF was, 4 Pockets Full is dead, literally. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it all, like, I told you, I feel like my whole life be written. You know what I'm saying? So it's like at that point in time in my life, the person who created 4PF, where I got it from, he died. So it was like more like,
put the rest.
I'm putting at the risk.
But all that goes out the window if you've got bodies dropping left and right and prosecutors weren't buying it either. They say the rebrand was a PR move away to dodge legal accountability while keeping the same operations running behind the scenes. They also pointed out that the Georgia Bureau of Investigation had already tied 4PF to the Crips gang, and that renaming it doesn't wipe the slate clean. Even rap lyrics are fair game in Georgia. The courts already made that clear during the YSL case. If Lil Baby rapped about violence, about get back, about the streets, that could be used as evidence no matter how much art imitates life, or vice versa. And with Fani Willis, the same DA who brought down YSL, still in power and promising more high-profile RICO indictments, the clock is ticking. If Lil Baby does get indicted, it won't just shake Atlanta, it'll shake the entire rap industry. So what's taking so long? Glad you asked. Fani Willis has had the resources to go full power mode thanks to federal pandemic relief money, which let her hire more people and throw whole courtrooms at single cases like the YSL trial. But now that money's dried up, and when she asked Fulton County to keep the funding rolling, they were like, yeah, no. So, what did she do? Threaten to sue the county. Dead serious. She said if they cut her budget, people would die. That's an actual quote. She's not talking in metaphors either. Fulton County's jail system is already a human rights disaster. And if case backlogs spike again, people sit longer and lockup violence rises, and the spiral continues. That's her whole argument. Give me the budget or the system breaks. But that budget, that's where things get messy. Fani's office refused to release a breakdown of what the YSL case cost even after multiple requests. They've been fined over $50,000 in legal fees just for Dodging public records, a Georgia State Senate committee even subpoenaed her office's financials. But those subpoenas only cover specific stuff like her dealings with Nathan Wade or federal. Grant's the rest still locked up, and all this drama, all this budget to go for is happening before she even files the next 2 indictments. If one of those ends up being Lil Baby, then history will repeat itself like it did with Thug Gunner and YSL. So here's the question: is this another witch hunt or the beginning of a takedown for someone who thought the feds weren't watching? And now that the star witness is dead, the bodies are piling up, and the state says a RICO is coming. What happens next? Let us know in the comments. And if you thought this was wild, wait till you see what's going down in our next video.